It's Florida in March. Not surprisingly, it's 80 degrees and sunny here in St. Petersburg. A great start to the 2023 USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires season, as we've already got underway with the USF Pro 2000. Their first of two races here this weekend. Turn 3 Motorsports. Christian Brooks getting a huge win, the recovery from last year. We get set to go with another one here for USF2000. My name's Rob Howden, joined by the guy who's going to be starting on the pole for J. Howard Driver Development, Lockie Hughes. Great day, as I said, folks. Grip coming up. The rubber's going down, not surprising. The IndyCar drivers have been out there a couple times already. Indy next, where these drivers want to be in a couple of years. But the grip levels are coming up. The track's still very, very challenging. And Lockie, let's come to you. Qualifying yesterday, putting it on the pole is obviously big to start the season. But what was the track like? We know the rubber was coming up throughout the day.
Yeah, the track felt better every session. Obviously, we only got the one practice session here. It was my first time here, first time on a street track, so there's a lot of learning involved. And to be honest, it didn't feel like crazy difference, but it was just quicker, just everywhere, just faster. So
coming to the end of the session, obviously, I think you were sitting P2. Nikita Johnson was on top. What did it take at the end there? Did you throw a big flyer down? Did you go a little deeper than you normally would to get that big lap?
Well, I knew we were quick the whole session because there was red flags and so we're in and out a fair bit. And so I knew at one point, the team told me I was quickest, so we had pace. So I just had to put the lap together and, stop making mistakes.
In talking to Jay Howard, did he get a chance to sit down with you and tell you how important it is to start on the pole? We already saw Christian Brooks get a victory. Makes you feel pretty good that he's been able to win from pole.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do the same thing. Obviously, it's always easier to win when you're starting first, so that's the plan.
We talked to a couple of drivers about some issues on the racetrack, maybe turn 3, turn 4. Have you had any trouble in turn number 3? We know one driver, Simon Sykes, went off pretty aggressively there with that bump right in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, I mean, you feel it every single time you go through. I don't really know what to say. It's a bit sketchy, but it's just what it is.
Got a big team of drivers here, 4 at J. Howard Driver Development. Were they able to pour over your data? Do you feel like your team's going to step up around you, maybe get all 4 drivers in the top 10?
Yeah, that's the plan. So, we'll see how it goes.
How important is this race to you? You've been in the championships before. You've won titles. You've been karting, you name it. How important for you is it to come out of the gate with a strong result here to start 2023?
Oh, it's it's the perfect way to start the year, Obviously, you don't need to. You just need to be there. It's a long season, so... But yeah, it's always nice to win the first race of the year.
I've always talked about the fact that you don't have to win the first race of the year. We've had many times in the years past where drivers who won actually didn't go on to win the championship. But it's always nice to put big points up at the start of the season. We know how tough this racetrack is. 12 corners. It's a temporary street circuit. We always talk about the fact that it's an airport for some of the track. There's concrete, there's pavement. Is that transition back and forth really tough for you?
I don't really know. It's not that tough, to be honest. It's now that there's rubber down, it's all right. Just send it, really.
There you go. That's the word for the day. Send it for Lockie Hughes. He'll start on the pole. And like you say, you don't know what you don't know. It's his first time ever here in St. Petersburg. First time on a street track as well. Watch for him to lead from pole position, folks. This is going to be a great race. 21 drivers in USF2000. We get back after this break. We'll give you the driver lineup.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper! It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
It is a beautiful afternoon here in St. Petersburg, Florida. 80 degrees. The wind down quite a bit from what it was yesterday. And we're about set to go racing once again. Qualifying for the NTT IndyCar Series wrapped up. Romain Grosjean, an impressive run to get the pole position for tomorrow's Grand Prix. But we've got drivers who are just early in their career looking to try to follow in the footsteps of so many of these pros who have worked their way up to the NTT IndyCar Series. The USF2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires about set to go. My name is Rob Howden, alongside the voice of this event, Todd Lewis, as we get set to go. We're still a little ways out from going, so let's take the opportunity right now to have a look at the grid as 21 drivers are set to go racing here today. Starting at the tail of the field in his first ever USF2000 race out of Texas, it'll be the number 93 exclusive Autosport driver, Avery Towns. Row number 10, starting 20th on the outside, a little issue in qualifying, but he's shown great speed. Look out for Elliott Cox out of Indianapolis, Indiana, in the Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing Development number 67. The drive planning sponsor machine starting 20th. We expect him to work his way into the top 10. Alongside him will be Gordon Scully for VRD Racing in the number 19. Row number 9 on the outside, Chase Gardner out of Texas. And the number 95, Mindshift Financial Machine for exclusive Autosport. Another driver who had a bit of issues yesterday but has the outright speed to run top 10, so watch for him to move forward. Alongside him will be Maxwell Jameson in the number 12 for D-Force Racing. Row number 8, starting 16th and 15th. On the outside, Al Morey the 4th out of Indianapolis, Indiana, in the number 7 for Jay Howard Driver Development, starting 16th. Inside the driver with all the speed but no luck, Simon Sykes, who was the driver we all expected them to be chasing here for Pabst Racing, got into the wall in turn 3 in qualifying. He ends up back in 15th position. We'll see whether or not Simon can scrap his way back forward. Moving to row number 7 on the outside, Jorge Garcias from Mexico with the number 10 for D-Force Racing, starting 14th. Alongside him, his fellow D-Force driver, the reigning USF Juniors champion out of Milton, Ontario, Canada. That's Matt Clark, starting in 13th. Row number 6 will be Lucas St. Jean out of Quebec, Canada, in the number 9 for Jay Howard Driver Development. On the inside, coming from Christchurch, New Zealand, it's Jacob Douglas in the exclusive Autosport number 90. Row 5 now into the top 10. Danny Dzelski on the outside in the number 18 for VRD Racing. And on the inside, Joey Brienza out of Colorado in the number 91 for exclusive Autosport. Row number 4, we'll see Zach Ping in the VRD Racing at number 97. On the inside, out of Hartsdale, New York, Nicholas D'Orlando in the exclusive Autosport number 92. Row 3 will have Andre Castro for Future Star Racing. Great debut for Future Star, putting their drivers on road number 3. It'll be Andre Castro on the outside in the 56, and his teammate on the inside in the number 58, Trey Burke. Burke starting in the 5th position. Row number 2, we'll see Evagoras Papasabas on the outside in the number 6. Papasabas running for Jay Howard Driver Development. Just a couple of starts last year, but a full season lined up for Evagoras. And on the inside, out of Cornelius, North Carolina for VRD Racing, a multi-time race winner last year in USF Juniors, Sam Corey in the number 14. 20 drivers in the field. We'll put 2 on the front row. Off pole, just 14 years of age, at a nearby Gulfport, Florida. Essentially the home race for Nikita Johnson for VRD Racing, 14 years old, in the number 17, starting on the off pole. And the driver out of Australia, who will lead him to the lead, green flag, Lockie Hughes for Jay Howard Driver Development, a 1:13.0836 fast time. Hughes and Johnson on row 1, Corey and Papasabas on row 2, Burke and Castro on row 3. It'll be Ping alongside Ping alongside D'Orlando on row number 4, Brienza and Dzelski row 5, row 6, Douglas and St. Jean, row 7, Clark and Garcias, row 8, Sykes and Morey, row 9, Jameson alongside Gardner, and row 10, we'll see Scully and Cox with Towns on row number 11. Still about 4 minutes away before we get the command to fire the engines here. Todd, we've got ourselves a tremendous group of drivers. The great thing about this is we had so many young drivers graduated at USF Pro 2000. There's a field of rookies. Like, anybody could win this. It could be a driver from last year, a sophomore driver, but we could see a freshman, a rookie, stand on top of the podium.
A lot of rookies, a lot of very talented rookies as well. You mentioned graduating drivers from this series up to USF Pro 2000. A number of the USF juniors have made that step to come up to the USF 2000 series, and you mentioned several of them in the introduction. Matt Clark would be another one. Sam Corey would be another one. Race winners, competitive drivers that have the win. My other thought turns to the race this morning in the Indy Pro 2000. 2000 series, and we discussed perhaps a long off season, a bit of excitement and enthusiasm, and would that get the better of some of the drivers? When you're telling me that the driver on the front row on the outside is only 14 years old, and I think back to what I was doing at 14 years old versus racing here at this incredible event in St. Petersburg, that's a huge accomplishment and a huge step. But again, they're young, they're teenagers, and still there is still the growing and maturity. That's part of the learning process in the USF 2000 series.
And in your mindset, you're thinking these drivers haven't been racing that long. They're brand new to cars. But remember, a lot of these kids have been racing since they were 5 or 6 years of age. So this isn't their first start. It's not their first pole start, their first outside front row start. They've been in so many races that this is kind of old hat to them. Yeah, it's a big stage. The NTT IndyCar Series drivers just pulled away. Remember, when they're rolling up there, all the crews are kind of leaving. That's always kind of a memory that a lot of these drivers have. But again, as I said, they've had lots of races before. This is the big show, though, here in this USF 2000 program. Looking like they're potentially going to work on Zach Ping's machine here, the VRD Racing Engine. Not sure if there's something wrong with Zach or not. Just chatting away with him. There's Trey Burke there in the Future Star Racing car, the driver who worked up through the 360 and 410 sprint car ranks before deciding he wanted to go road racing. There's the number 6 ahead of him as well, Ivagoras Papasavas, and these are the drivers on the outside of the front row. Papasavas looking for a good run here, feels very good, likes these street circuits, was talking about the fact that he loved being in Toronto last year, and he's excited to go back. There's Joey Brienza out of Colorado as well, visited the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital earlier, met with a bunch of kids, was there with Santino Ferrucci, had a great time there meeting the kids. We have ourselves just a tremendous field of fantastic young gentlemen this year here in USF 2000. This will be their first race of the season. We go from here 2 weeks away, 3 weeks actually, 3 weekends to Sebring, and then of course we'll see races on the road course at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Road America, Mid-Ohio, Portland. A lot of great tracks for us to go to. These drivers all ready to fire things up for the first 25 lapper of the year, folks. We are excited to bring it here for you. Again, looking forward to getting things underway for this Cooper Tires Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Joining our crew down on pit lane to give us the command to fire, one of our guests from Anderson Interior Contracting, Steve DeMichael.
Sponsored by Anderson Interiors, AOA, and CMRG. Drivers, start your engines.
And with that, engines will come to life for the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, a 25-lapper. You think about this, Todd. I talked about the fact that they've all run in karts before, but there is that little differentiation. These aren't karts anymore. For a lot of these drivers, this is the biggest race they've ever been in before. They're here on a big stage, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. They got a very tough racetrack in front of them that's going to change again. Every time they've gone to the track, it's changed. We just had a full qualifying session for the NTT IndyCar Series. There's going to be more grip on this racetrack right now.
Something that they have to learn, but again, part of the learning process in moving through the USF 2000 series and the USF championships is learning at every step of the ladder system. And that is one of the things you mentioned, coming to a big event. That's also part of the learning process and understanding how the logistics work at the big events like this. You need to be ready and be ready to go when your time comes, as the cars begin to stream out onto the out of pit lane onto their initial pace lap.
Well, here's another one. Think about the way a karting event would run. Every day you're running a different race. You're going to practice, you're going to qualify, you're going to maybe have a heat race or a pre-final, then you're going to race. You're back on track every hour and a bit. This is the first time they've been on track today. Remember, they had a practice on Friday, qualifying on Friday. They've been sitting around all day ready to go. They haven't had a chance to get rolling. They haven't had even any laps at all. This is where the mindset really starts to play, right? What kind of mental focus do they have to realize you're in the car, you're jumping, you're racing one time. There's no do-overs because you had a rough qualifying. You were able to go, in the heat race, you moved up a little bit. You get into the main event, you can move up. One chance to get the job done here, and the stakes are a lot higher.
That's it. Leave pit lane. You've got one lap to get the tires warmed up, scrub them back and forth, get into line, get in a good alignment coming through 13 and 14, the final hairpin, and then be ready for that green flag to anticipate and look for an opportunity right away. As the cars are bunched up on starts and restarts, that's when the best opportunities come to pass, and we're headed to the initial start of this race.
Yeah, that is 100% true that the start here is a great opportunity to get some positions. You can't win win a race here, but you can sure lose it in the opening corner. But it is a great opportunity to take advantage of somebody else's mistake, and opening that presents itself. That's what you got to do. You got to be focused and be ready to go. We've got some big drivers starting from the tail of the field, like I said, like Elliot Cox back there in the 67. Keep an eye on him, trying to work his way forward. Field streaming its way through the final couple of corners of this racetrack, 12 and 13 or 14, however many corners you want this track to have. Field looks good. 21 drivers set to fire things up. They'll all get themselves into position. They'll accordion them up, and we are green, green, green. Racing down into turn number 1, the bottom of the racetrack. Always slippery into turn number 1. Hopefully not too many drivers try the bottom there. Got to get through cleanly. Looking good so far. Mid-pack clean. Looks like everybody in position as well. A couple drivers down to the bottom of the racetrack, but otherwise clean and green through 1 and 2. They'll snake through turn number 3 as well. Another tough part of this racetrack. Out of turn number 3 to 4. Drivers way down to the bottom of the racetrack. You got to give room. Coming into the apex of turn number 4. And one driver into the wall. One driver, boom, hardcore. That is the right or left rear of one of the VRD cars potentially. One driver hard into the barrier on the outside. No, that might have been one of the exclusive Autosport cars actually. A little deeper in the field. Someone trying to go wide around the outside. It might have been Jacob Douglas in the number 90. We'll see. Stay with us. We have the red flag, or it could be the 93 we're potentially being told. It might be Avery Towns. Might have been the 93 machine that got into the contact there. The 90s, that is the exclusive Autosport numbers. And yeah, that looks like the 93 potentially there. So that could be contact for Avery Towns, who got a bit of wide coming through turn number 4. Tap that left wheel onto the concrete on the outside, and it doesn't take much for that suspension to fold up. It's designed to do that. It's obviously designed to dissipate the force of a wall hit like that, but that'll be tough there for Avery Towns.
Just as we saw in the USF Pro 2000 this morning, first lap there was an incident. It looked like we were going to be able to get through, but just that fourth corner has been trouble all weekend long for just about every series here. As you go down the inside, you've really got to get the car slowed down. Sometimes that triggers something else if someone's on the outside of you, and a little bit of a challenge there and some contact with the outside wall.
Yeah, you know what? Avery got a pretty good start, I think, coming down. He got a good jump out there, went down to the bottom of the track and was able to get a couple positions. And you're just trying to carry a lot of speed through that corner. He had made up spots, so you know in his mind was probably, I got to preserve this. I've got to make sure I have a really good opening lap, keep those guys behind me. And Avery just going a little bit too quick into turn number 4. There are the bumps into that corner there as well, pushed out wide. Car got a little rotate. We'll try to see if we can't get a replay of it for you folks to have a look. But Avery Towns, as we said, the exclusive Autosport driver. Let's have a look here. We'll see which vantage point we get. This is coming through turn number 4. You see him way outside of the API. He's way outside of the line, bringing it back in. That's your leader coming through. It looks like there might have been some contact for Avery, and he got into the tires, not into the concrete. It seems to me like Avery might have been on the outside, and a couple of drivers, maybe some contact beside him, moved him over. I want to see that one again. Now that we've had the first look at it, you can see potentially some more damage for some drivers further back. You can see the wide line taken coming through there by our Poulsen. They're kind of rolling around there. I thought he was wide coming through, but was able to bring it back, but got the car wound up. Here it is again. Here are your leaders coming through. Yeah, way wide line coming out there, but look a little further back. You're going to see, Avery just get a little wide. I think he just was trying to hold on to the outside of the. You see the car starting to rotate on it. It wasn't. He was out there all by himself trying to potentially go 3 wide, I think.
Maybe with the best of intentions, trying to avoid any trouble on the inside, and just you find the car gets a little bit loose out from underneath you, and there's nothing you can do to hang on to it to get around through the corner.
You know, and I said he got a good start, so he's out there trying to preserve. He's got guys looking on the inside of him. Maybe I'll try to hang around the outside, and there's just no grip out there. Listen, we talked about it in the USF Pro 2000 race. Scott Dixon went off there. A bunch of drivers have been off. A lot of the IndyCar drivers really leveraged it. They obviously went into the runoff area as opposed to getting into the tires. But that's a corner you're pushing, especially the opening laps. We talked about the fact that it's important to try to get spots. So there's opportunities to get positions, but You can also make a little mistake and you find yourself in the barrier, especially here.
Absolutely. If you manage to pick up a couple of spots on the initial start through the first couple of corners, the last thing you want to do is give those spots back and have to retake those positions when it's a little more challenging. As the field gets strung out, it's going to become a lot harder to try to reel in a competitor and bring them back towards you. But it looks like, unfortunately, we'll have the quick little cleanup and then get back to some green flag racing, hopefully. One of the drivers you mentioned that we wanted to keep an eye on was Simon Sykes, who did also manage to gain a few positions up through the initial start, starting back in 15th. So he's jumped up into the top 10.
Yeah, that's really big for Simon to get up into the top 10 because he can attack from there. If you are looking at live timing, we're showing 4 drivers who have not yet turned a lap, 2, of course, around the track. We've got the one essentially at speed at the start before the yellow came out, then one pace lap or one caution flag lap so far. Zach Ping, Danny Dezelski, Lucas St. Jean, and of course Avery Towns, as we know with the incident, but 3 other drivers potentially have not come back. We'll do a car count when they come by start finish. We had a little issue with a couple of the transponders in our USF Pro 2000 race earlier, so we'll see whether or not maybe some drivers are just having some trouble. There's Dezelski there in the 18, yeah, so he's come through clean. We'll try to pick up a couple of other cars. Dezelski's come through, as we said. I saw him. We'll try to pick up the 97 of Zach Ping as well. That will be the only one that potentially could have trouble right now because we've already picked up a couple of the other drivers that we saw. St. Jean's already picked up. He's up there as well, just outside the top 10. There's the car there of Avery Towns. You see he's lost the rear wing and the left rear potentially. I don't know if the right rear is gone as well, but left rear definitely absent from that race car. Now, it'll be tough for that exclusive Autosport team because you remember they're on track tomorrow morning. They're not on track tomorrow afternoon. Let me have a quick look at time-wise. It's pretty early tomorrow morning, Todd. I think they're on track. Yeah, 8 o'clock, I think. Oh, yeah. That'll be a late night over there. They got work to do to get that thing back together. Now, granted, like I said, if they can just able to pull the suspension off, it may not be too bad. But it appears like we're going to have one more yellow pace lap here, one more caution lap before we go back to green. And again, we do see Lockie Hughes, P1. He, like I said, charged through turn 4, was quite a ways up the racetrack compared to where Johnson was coming through the 4-5 combination. But it's Lockie Hughes leading, Nikita Johnson in second, Santori in third, Eva Goris Papasabas in fourth, Trey Burke fifth, sixth is Andre Castro, seventh is Nicholas D'Orlando, eighth Joey Brienza, ninth Simon Sykes, and 10th is Jacob Douglas. Apologies to anybody down in New Zealand who, when I first said the incident could have been Jacob Douglas, held their breath, maybe had the heart rate go up a little bit. I apologize for that, but it looked like I could see one of the exclusive Autosport 90s. Looked like number 90 to me.
Just trying to identify the right car. wasn't throwing shade in any direction at all. Just trying to identify the right car.
You just know there's people that are watching around the world. We do know that, and when you kind of say something and they're going, oh, no, what? Yeah, I apologize. It's tough. We do our best to pick it up, especially as you can see. You know what time we're running at right now. It's almost 4 o'clock. You can see the shadows over the racetrack. It's a lot darker here, especially for here on the cameras, watching the drivers work their way around the track. This is the rundown from 3 into turn number 4. This is where that incident took place. It is very wide coming into this part of the racetrack, as we know. Look, it's essentially 4 lanes, 5 lanes wide coming in, but it narrows up on the exit, that's for sure.
Yeah, 4 going in, but not nearly as many coming out of the other side of that corner, and that has been the challenge. And also some of the resurfacing that has taken place there. It's a little bit bumpy. It's not quite as smooth as you would ideally like it, and it has been upsetting to a number of the different cars in just about every series. We have seen drivers that have challenges trying to make that corner, especially if you are battling with someone on either the inside or outside. It requires you to really focus to try to either slow down or give plenty of room to get through that corner and come out the other side.
Didn't get a chance to watch the cars they came across to see whether or not Zach Ping was still out there. I think I was able to identify the 18 of Danny Dezelski. So I'm going to probably say that Zach Ping still remains on track, even though a live timing is showing him as not logging any laps as of yet. They'll put lap number 4 in the books this next time by, and we'll have 16 to go. Zach Ping, I believe, scheduled to be in the 97, but there's also a 19 out there. That's Gordon Scully. I saw him go by. Otherwise, the field is set. Pace cars pulled off into pit lane, and we're back to racing. Great jump there for Lockie Hughes as he has worked his way to a decent little advantage coming up the order. And no, I'm not seeing the 97 of Zach Ping out there. So Zach Ping indeed may be one of the drivers who's out as well. Did not see Zach out onto the racetrack. Here's the first run again, back down on the yellow into turn number 1. Everything looking good so far. Drivers settling into position. And we'll keep an eye, of course, on Simon Sykes looking to work his way forward in that Pabst racing machine. Because as we know, the Pabst team very quick last year, had 2 drivers in the championship fight. Very quick last year, had 2 drivers in the championship fight. And you know, Simon working his way forward to try to use this as his opportunity to potentially put together a budget for a full season.
Single file restart allows everyone to stretch out and get through corners 5, 6, 7. The leaders getting down towards corner 9 now, and everything looking good and smooth so far.
Lockie Hughes out of Australia leading the way out of turn number 9 down to turn number 10, trying to see if he can't get that little bit of an advantage to pull away. I spoke with a couple of the drivers in pit lane from the, rather in the paddock from USF Pro 2000, and the aero wash is pretty tough here in a couple of the corners where they really would let there have some front grip. More a Pro 2000 than USF 2000, but there still is a bit of an aero wash. Even though this car, the design, to provide a lot more mechanical grip over aero grip, you still have to use those front wings, and when you're tucked up behind someone and you're not getting that wind flow over top, it makes a big difference in the longer duration point.
And especially here with the breeze that we've been enduring the last couple of days, depending on where you're situated on the racetrack, if you're coming down towards corners 12, 13, 14, you're going to get the headwind coming on, which is going to push the car down. But at other spots on the track, it's going to move that car around and make it feel a lot lighter.
Good battling through deeper in the field, even all the way outside the top 15. These drivers really going at it. Elliot Cox has got a couple of spots. He's up into 16th now, getting by Al Mori. Now he's going to work on trying to get by. I think he actually got by Gordon Scully on that last lap, so moved Cox up into the 15th position. Again, started dead last, trying to take his time. You know, car a lap gets you to the front when you have a 21 kart field and a 20-lap race. There is the number 17, Nikita Johnson. He's got his teammate Sam Corey. Those two drivers, both race winners last year in our USF Junior Series, which was made its debut last year. We used the Lee J car last year. This year, essentially the Caddis JR23, which is kind of a restricted version of our USF 2000 car. All 3 series, USF 2000, USF 2000, and the Pro 2000 category, all using the same tub and halo. There's a little overcooked there. Driver getting too deep into the corner. That might have been Garcias. That might have been Jose Garcias, I think. Yeah. Jorge Garcias, the D-Force Racing number 10, potentially overcooking a little bit into the corner. Now he's under fire right now from Elliot Cox. So the battle continues deep in the field, but it's a 1.3 second lead for Lockie Hughes.
Corey, Papasavas, and Burke round out the top 5, and the gap starting to stretch out a little bit near the front of the field, but plenty of fighting mid-pack through quarters 4, 5, and 6.
That's a big move there for Trey Burke, who has moved that Future Star Racing number 58 into 4th as he goes to the inside of Papasavas coming down into turn number 4. So Trey Burke, a young driver who has been scrapping his way here, started a one-car team coming out of sprint cars, really had to learn what it was like to run these cars, then came back last year, had Sage Karam with him last year, had some people around him, and they were starting to get a hang of it. But then had some issues, didn't have the budget to continue, the funding he had kind of backing out, able to get back here with Future Star Racing, and now here he is running 4th position. Now to be thrilled with Trey Burke, really up on the wheel today.
Wonder how much driving a sprint car, now it's not really translatable to these USF 2000 cars, but being able to handle a car that you're throwing around and not having to worry about aerodynamics, you wonder how much a lot of that will translate. So many other series talk about if you can race on dirt or if you can race some other kind of cars, you can really learn a lot of skills that will help you in open wheel racing.
A lot of times I think it's about reaction time. You know, being able to have quick hands. So obviously you're throwing the car around, it's all about car control and balance, but there's a reaction time I think you have to have driving a sprint car that can really benefit here in an open wheel formula car. There's the black and yellow machine. You can see that car pop out. That is Chase Gardner, who had a rough go, but he's going to try the outside coming here. Looking to make a move to the inside, coming back over to turn number 7. Wow, that was a nice move for Chase Gardner, rolling the outside of turn number 6. Goes to 7, and he'll get one spot and tuck right up behind Clark. He's right behind Matt Clark. They might have got by Lucas St. Jean on that one, I think. That was a solid move around the outside of turn number 6.
I want to say that was a very mature move, not to overreact when you find yourself on the outside, and then understand that, all right, we understand that the track will come back the other way, but you have the opportunity to complete the pass and not overreact or panic in that situation.
Yeah, what a run that was there for Chase Gardner. Had 2 rough runs yesterday as well. Had a braking issue, went off and actually got into the barriers in the end of the front straightaway, hit hard there, and then had an issue. He brought the yellow out yesterday when he got into the barriers over in turn number 8. Not happy with himself. wanted to just kind of press the reset button and come back, and he is now working his way forward nicely. So Gardner in the middle of a scrap here right now, I believe running what, in the 11th position, I think. Hughes lead, Johnson second, Papasavas, Burke, and Corey. I'm not sure if Papasavas got back by Burke or not. He may have. Then it's Castro in the 6th spot, D'Orlando 7th, Sykes 8th, Douglas 9th, Brienza in 10th, Matt Clark up to 11th, Gardner into 12th as they put St. Jean back into 13th position.
After the initial caution, we continue to run under green flag conditions nearing the halfway mark of this race. And again, as we discussed in the USF Pro 2000 race earlier today, cars will start to change just a little bit now, burning off some of the fuel. You'll have the normal tire degradation that occurs throughout the life of a race. So your car is going to start to behave a little differently in the second half of that race. So you have to understand that and also begin to look at where you might be able to take advantage of that, because your competitors will be doing the same thing.
A lot of the time the driver may have to adjust the way they approach some of the corners with the way that car is. Isn't pushing too much. You need to kind of work on the way you approach the corner to get the car to rotate by itself. A lot of things that you can do to a race car just to try to get it to attack a corner a little bit differently. Your turn-in points, your braking points, you can change brake bias as well. You can pull the bias a little bit farther forward. The car's going to grip in the front some more. You're going to get a little bit more entry oversteer, which can help if the car's got a bit of a push. Right now, the driver's doing a tremendous job up front here. And again, we are to a 1.8 second lead for Lockheed Hughes for Jay Howard Driver Development. They are no stranger to being up front in this USF2000 program. Just go back to the Christian Rasmussen, who had an almost record-setting year, was fantastic as he was chasing a record amount of wins, the same as Kyle Kirkwood. Had a great year to win the title that year. So there's a guy definitely, and Jay Howard, that knows how to win in this USF2000 program.
And so many other strong teams as well that are in the USF2000 program, and a number of them running in all three levels of the ladder of the USF championships now, to whether it's DeForest Racing. You're finding that drivers can come in the USF juniors and stick with the team and move through the three levels of the ladder system.
Papasavas indeed able to get back around Burke after he made that spot. Here's a pass a little bit further back as well. You can see the drivers side by side. That's, I believe, just inside the top 10. That might be Sykes and Douglas, or Brienza and Douglas going at each other. Coming through this 2-3 combination. A tough part of this race. Like, it looks like it goes back and forth, but it's really just one big sweeping corner as the drivers work their way through. There is Gardner coming through. We see him running in the 11th spot. St. Jean, Garcias, Maury, Cox, Scully, and Jameson. They're at the tail of the field as well as they're logging laps. It's one of the things I said to a couple of the drivers here. If you're in your first season of this program, you're trying to get top 10s, you're trying to get top 5s. A win is not in the cards for a number of these drivers. So when you get out there, have the mindset that you're here to log laps. You want to come back in 2024 saying, I've already been here before. I got all my laps when I was at St. Petersburg. I got a baseline. Now I can attack as a sophomore driver.
That's right. I mean, initially, as so many rookies in this field, everything is brand new. A lot of them haven't driven this circuit before, so they've had to learn that this weekend. They're still learning the car in some aspects. Some of them learning with new teams. So there's a lot that they have to absorb in a short period of time. The more laps you get, the more track time you get, the better off you're going to be. You have to have the realistic expectations in the early going. First, you got to finish the race, get all 20 laps of the race in, and see what you can do.
That's it. That's the first box to check, is to make sure that you get all the race laps in. So you have the experience you need. That's the key for so many of these freshman drivers here. Get those race laps in. There's the lead for Lockheed Hughes over top of Nikita Johnson. Just 14 years of age, Nikita Johnson. He's got so much time to be able to work his way forward, and we expect him to be a championship contender. He's been testing a lot of different cars, spent some time in Europe at GB4, GB3, get a chance to drive as much stuff as he could to get himself ready for this 2023 season. Right now, the lead there, but here comes one of the other Jay Howard Driver Development cars, and that is Ivagoras Papasavas, trying to see if he can't reel him in. Last time by, he was about a tenth or a full second back. It looks to me like it's a bit closer as they come out at turn number 9. Papasavas, I think, closing up here on Nikita Johnson. We may see a Jay Howard Driver Development 1-2.
Well, it's interesting because the last lap as well, Nikita Johnson was about 0.3 quicker than the leader with Lockheed Hughes. So it'll be interesting again as the car begins to change in the second half of the race, which one of them is able to understand and adapt. A 13-1 this time for Lockheed Hughes, who answers back with a better time.
And a 13-1 for Papasavas as well. He was 0.3 of a second quicker. There's Simon Sykes, I believe, making the move to the inside of Castro. Castro. So Simon Sykes has gotten by Castro, I think, into the 6th position. Simon Sykes trying to work his way forward. Again, a driver that we expected to challenge for the race win all weekend. He was quickest at the spring training test as well at Sebring back on Monday and Tuesday, but had an issue yesterday, like so many people did, in that turn 3. We're making a mid-corner bump there that set the car wide. He got into that corner, didn't really get down to the apex enough. The bump set him wide into the outside retaining wall. He came back across the track and hit the inside, so hammered the left sides, hammered the right sides. A very expensive wreck for Simon Sykes. And here's a guy that does not have a lot of budget to race. He's trying to be there with Pabst Racing to see if he can't bring them a championship, because the driver that's going to be alongside him for the rest of the season can't race here this weekend because he's not old enough. We'll see that driver come Sebring at the end of this month.
So Simon Sykes did run a number of races in the USF2000 series last year and showed consistency. He finished in the top 10. So he's taking that experience into this year. And even though he had that setback in qualifying and started deep in the field, understanding that, all right, I want to do what I can, get as much as I can out of the car, but also realizing his chances for a victory aren't really realistic. So now he's been able to climb back into the top 10. Can he manage the top 5 in these remaining 5 laps?
Where is he right now, too, right? Sitting there currently in the 6th position. Last time by, he was 6/10 faster than Trey Burke and is only about 7/10 back. So there's a definite top 5 opportunity here for Simon Sykes, and maybe more. There is still 7 laps remaining. They'll put lap number 14 in the books when they come back around. So an opportunity still for Simon Sykes to potentially claw his way back to the podium. We'll see if that plays as the drivers work their way through turns 8 and 9, back out onto the straightaway, leading down into turn number 10. The first race of the season for the drivers here in this program. Looking forward to what should be a great year. And here at St. Petersburg, Sebring, March 25th, 26th. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the road course, 12th and 13th. Over at Lucas Oil Raceway, actually Indianapolis Raceway Park on May the 26th. Road America in the middle of June. A couple of races in July in both Mid-Ohio. And on the streets of Toronto, we'll wrap things up on Labor Day weekend at Portland International Raceway. So lots of fantastic venues for the drivers here in USF2000.
Lockie Hughes remains out in front. Nikita Johnson running in second. They seem to be trading quick laps. One will go a 10th or 2 quicker than the other. Lockie Hughes a little bit quicker than Nikita Johnson this last time around. Ivagoras Papasavits in 3rd. Sam Corey 4th. Trey Burke in 5th. And Simon Sykes with his sights set on moving up from 6th into 5th.
I like that. 3/10 quicker last time by than Trey Burke. So again, he's working his way closer here. In fact, he's right there now. He's right between the 2 Future Star machines. Burke in the 58 right in front of Sykes. Castro right behind him. Castro trying to find a way back by, but watch for Sykes to try to set things up. Coming out of turn number 12. There he is right there. That's the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, probably 11th and 12th, because there's 12th just a little bit back. That's Gardner there trying to close back up. So indeed, we have ourselves a tremendous fight here. There's Sam Corey and the 22. I think he's by. Yeah, he is. He's through. Simon Sykes has made the move, and Burke's trying to see if he can't get by. Almost up on the gearbox coming into here. But he is through. Simon Sykes has gone to P5. He'll go down to the bottom of the racetrack to try to hold off Burke. That'll be the defensive run. There it is. Burke's right with him. He'll come down into the turn 1 corner. And though he was running the bottom line, still able to get through cleanly. So Simon Sykes now into the 5th position. Remember, he started 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. That was it. He was the beneficiary on that opening lap of the incident. Corner number 4 managed to pick up a number of positions and get himself up towards the top 10, and he has just moved forward consistently throughout these 15 laps that we've run so far. That is a real accomplishment. And again, understanding what the car will give you on that day and what is possible, knowing that you're starting deep in the field. If you have your sights set on a championship, well, I need to extract as many points as I can. Is a win realistic? No, but I can do well and get into the top 5.
Because you're going to look back at the championship when you get to Portland and say that I fought from 15th to 4th or 5th or 4th, whatever it was. That was a big point haul for me when it could have been a lot worse. Really excited about the 2023 season and the new program that the USF Pro Championships have with Discount Tire. Discount Tire is the official tire retailer of the USF Pro Championships, presented by Cooper Tires. The company was established in 1960 and today has over 1,100 plus stores across 37 states. Continuing the vision of founder Bruce T. Halley, the company has grown from a single storefront to become one of the most trusted tire and wheel retailers by fostering community connections and honoring customer and employee relationships. So excited to be working with Discount Tire here in 2023.
Change in the running order in the top two. Evagoras Papasavas has jumped past Nikita Johnson for the runner-up spot now, and Nikita Johnson is third. Johnson clearly had a problem of some sort, so Papasavas was able to take advantage.
We did see that Papasavas was putting down the laps, right? He was getting quicker and quicker and getting those 13-1s down. I said he was closing up and was finally able to make the move, so Papasavas has gone to second. So it's right now a Jay Howard driver development 1-2 with Lucky Hughes P1, Papasavas in second. 4 laps to go. We're not done with the battles either because Johnson and Corey are going at it. There's as well, he's by Corey. Sykes is up to 4th. Simon Sykes has gone to P4, I believe, getting by Sam Corey. So we've got more action. Lucky Hughes, though, 2.8 seconds out front. What a drive it's been for Simon Sykes, showing you what he's worth. Interesting thing is, what do we got for a fast lap for Simon Sykes of 13.1? Let's have a look at his qualifying time for Simon. Trying to figure out exactly what his qualifying time was. 14.1. He's going to be able to use this 13.1. He may start somewhere in the top couple of rows. He's going to be in the top 6, I would bet. This is big for Simon Sykes. The ability to put those lap times down. He's going to start a lot closer to the front. Right now running P4 with a 13.1 laid down. You're going to find himself somewhere in the top 6, I think, for tomorrow.
The qualifying session that took place for USF2000, the fastest time set the grid for race number 1. The second fastest time scheduled to set the grid provisionally for race number 2. But if you run a faster lap during the race, you can use that time. Simon Sykes has clearly going to reap the benefit.
Well, Simon had a really good lap, was a big P1 at that point, and then hit the wall, lost his fast lap, and he got the red flag out. So this is huge for Simon Sykes to get another lap. That's going to move him way quicker up the order. Like I said, could be somewhere in the top 4, top 6, maybe even better than that. I don't think he'll be on the front row, but nonetheless, a great recovery for him as he now runs in that 4th position. Looking at his lap time, 0.2 quicker than Johnson last time by, but they got 4.8 seconds. Right now, Simon Sykes will be focused on just trying to hold on to P4, stretch away, give himself a bit of a gap. 2 laps to go here for USF2000's championship presented by Cooper Tires. 2 laps to go for Lucky Hughes and Evagoras Papasavas as the Jay Howard drivers run 1-2. VRD Racing 3-4. Make that 3-5 for VRD Racing. Sykes for the Pabst machine in 4th. Burke and Castro, great runs for 6th and 7th right now. Douglas 8th, DiOrlando 9th, and Brienza 10th. Those are the 3 exclusive Autosport drivers who remain in the race. 8th, 9th, and 10th right now. Lucky Hughes, though, a driver who had never run a street circuit when he's been here, come here before. Like I say, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You just get out there and wheel it. He's done a tremendous job. Great run here for Lucky Hughes. They'll bring it on the front straightaway. You'll see the white flag. 1 more lap to go, and I'll tell you, Lucky Hughes is going to be happy. Evagoras Papasavas is going to be over the moon. This is exactly what he was hoping for coming into the new season. Only ran a handful of races last year. Didn't start the season after a really bad wreck, actually, at a karting event early or late in 2021. Had to wait until, I want to say, Road America potentially to make his start for 2022. Ran a handful of races, and he's excited about a full season right now.
Rest of the runners taking the white flag. This will be the last lap, and so far, Lucky Hughes perfect with a 2.5 second lead ahead of Evagoras Papasavas and looking good on his way to a victory. Nikita Johnson 3rd and Simon Sykes 4th.
Jay Howard Driver Development, as said, had a really good year a couple of years ago with Christian Rasmussen, and again, was with him coming up through the Pro 2000 categories as well. This is going to be big for Lucky Hughes to get it off to a big start on the season. He's clean and green through turn number 10, as is his teammate Papasavas. Nikita Johnson right there as well. But Lucky Hughes of the Gold Coast of Australia, the Aussie, looking to grab a victory here as he comes down to turn number 12, the right-hand hairpin, onto the straightaway, and the celebration starts. Lucky Hughes going to start the season off. Checkered flag from Aaron Likens, and he will win in the USF2000 race number 1 of the opening weekend of the season. Lucky Hughes with the victory, 2.4 seconds the margin. Evagoras Papasavas coming home in 2nd. Nikita Johnson in 3rd. Simon Sykes, what a run from 15th up to 4th for Sykes. 5th is Sam Corey. 6th, Nicholas D'Orlando. What happened to Castro? We had a pretty wild finish there. I think we weren't keying on that. But look at the battle. Nicholas D'Orlando ends up finding himself up into 6th. Burt goes to 7th. Jacob Douglas 8th. Castro 9th. And Joey Brienza rounding out the top 10. It'll be a partial season for Brienza. He's going to tackle the USF Juniors Series Championship this year, but the driver from Colorado capping off the top 10. Good run there. Had some issues early on, but otherwise we had some great racing for some drivers working forward. And you know what? We now have the drivers we can figure out that are going to start the challenge from the championship out of the box.
A lot of good action throughout the field. It's the USF2000 field, and we talked about Simon Sykes moving his way forward in qualifying and how that's going to impact. He also just scored his fast lap of the race and scored the fastest lap of the race with a 1:12.9 on lap 19.
Bonus point.
That will help him for tomorrow's starting spot, too.
I'll tell you this right now, that 1:12.92 may be the pole position as well. Simon Sykes may have just earned himself the pole with the fast lap of the race. That would be huge for him. P5, P4 in race 1, maybe going for a win in race number 2. May not all be over for Simon Sykes.
Terrific job by Simon Sykes. Our thanks to Rob Howden, who's going to head down to Victory Podium for ceremonies. Terrific job again. We'll see him tomorrow. First thing, the USF2000 Series is back on track tomorrow morning for their second race of the weekend. Here's a look at the unofficial results. It's Lockie Hughes who scores the victory, leading wire to wire, starting from the pole position and taking the first of 2 here in the USF2000 Series. Ivagoras Papasavas and Nikita Johnson, the 14-year-old, round out the podium finishers. Strong run from Simon Sykes, Sam Corey as well with a top 5 showing. Nicholas D'Orlando moves up near the end, scores a 6th place finish. Trey Burke, Jacob Douglas, Andre Castro, and Joey Brienza round out the top 10 in race number 1 for the USF2000 Series here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Continuing our look through the unofficial results, it's Mac Clark, the USF Juniors Championships, wearing that number 1, who scores an 11th place finish. Gardner, Garcias, St. John, and Al Mori with the 15th. And here they are as they come towards the pit lane for the celebrations with Lockie Hughes, who scores the victory, leading from start to finish, and will climb out of that car in celebration. There's the enthusiasm of a young man who's just scored his first victory in the USF2000 Series, climbing out of that car to accept the congratulations of his team and family. Yeah, that unmistakable winner smile is even visible underneath that helmet. Terrific run by a lot of drivers here. Ivagoras Papasavas is good. Nikita Johnson, who started on the front row, made a little bit of a mistake with just a handful of laps remaining and allowed Papasavas to get around him and score that runner-up position. But Nikita Johnson still with a strong run to score a podium finish. And Simon Sykes, who we've talked about significantly, what a drive from starting deep in the field at 15th. Takes advantage of an early caution period. Avery Towns and that team will have some work to do before the race again tomorrow morning, first thing. But they will be back at it. Here again, a look at the unofficial results as Lockie Hughes, Ivagoras Papasavas, and Nikita Johnson will be on the podium here for the USF2000 Series. Still one more race to come up, of course. It's the Mazda MX-5 Cup Series. That will come up in just a little bit to wrap up our Saturday program here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. What an outstanding day it has been, with so much action. We saw Romain Grosjean score the pole position for the NTT IndyCar Series. Louis Foster scored the pole in Indy Next. Both of those races, of course, go tomorrow. The USF Pro 2000 Series had Christian Brooks scoring the victory after crashing out and qualifying at this event a year ago and winding up on the sidelines for the balance of the season. Redemption starting on the pole and scores the victory here. And as we mentioned, USF 2000 just have Lockie Hughes score the victory. At Mazda MX-5 Cup Series in the race earlier today, it was Gresham Wagner who had a back-and-forth battle with Connor Zilisch on the last lap as they traded the lead a couple of times through the final few corners, and it was Gresham Wagner
Uncle
who came
Cooper.
away with...
Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper. It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduro Maxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper. It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
Is the USF Pro Championships, the world's greatest motorsports ladder program with a proven formula, where top junior drivers from around the world come to compete across the best tracks in North America, where the opportunity to climb to the top is guaranteed, promoting every champion to the next stage, where champions are made and legends established. 52 races, over 50 up-and-coming
We have
drivers.
the top three drivers here in this USF2000 championship presented by Cooper Tires. Great to have them here in the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. One thing I said before, it's amazing this year. We had a lot of drivers graduate up into Pro 2000, some drivers moving into a couple of other sports car series, which means we've got lots of rookies here, and they're talented. And we saw all three, and these are all rookies here in this program. Let's start with the driver coming home in third place, folks. He's from Gulfport, Florida, with the local drivers, Nikita Johnson. And to present Nikita with his trophy, Tamara Uranek, one of our guests from Anderson Interior Contracting. Tamara, thank you. We're going to see a lot of Nikita Johnson, folks, a talented young driver. His first run of the 2023 season, and he works his way on to the podium. Going to be a race winner before this is all said and done. Tamara, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Finishing in second, another tremendous young driver we're watching grow throughout last year. He loves the street circuits, and he's going to love them even more. Finishing second place today for J. Howard Driver Development, Ivagoras Papasavas. Great drive to be able to work his way up into second, and to present him with his second place trophy, Peggy Buckley will join us here on the podium area. And again, all guests of Anderson Interior Contracting. Great to have all of our guests here this weekend. Peggy, thank you so much. One more spot on the podium reserved for the driver who was able to get the win on the pole position and worked his way up to the victory as well. J. Howard Driver Development finishing 1-2 all the way from Australia. Put your hands together for Lockie Hughes. Lockie, we'll have a chat before you jump up there. Starting a season off, you've been racing a long time. You know when you start the season off with a race win, it's been a good day.
Yeah, I couldn't start the season any better. Pole position, race win. Yeah, really happy right now. Just all thanks to the team and my family back home.
Well done. Hop on top of the podium. There he is, folks. Lockie Hughes getting a big victory. And we'll bring that P1 trophy up with him. Heather Spar will bring that up for us. A first place trophy for Lockie Hughes his first win here in USF2000 competition. These three drivers most definitely in the fight to battle it out for the championship. But that's a long way away, 6 months away, Labor Day weekend. We'll get some great photos here of our drivers who have made it to the podium. All freshmen in the series, which I think is big. The sophomores going to step things up. These are young rookie drivers in this program. And you're going to be hearing these names for the years to come here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Got some photos coming. We're going to bring some of our guests up from the Anderson Interior Contracting. We'll bring our kids up as well to hear as part of the High Tide Boat Lifts Kids on Track. They'll come up here in a couple minutes. Get these drivers up here now. Get our guests up to have a little fun with us. Again, remember these drivers really wrapping things up now. Go home, get some dinner, early to bed because they're up early tomorrow. We have an 8 o'clock green flag, I believe, tomorrow morning for these drivers. So they'll be right back at it for round number 2 of the weekend here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And just 3 weeks from now, we'll be back in action at Sebring International Raceway for rounds 3 and 4. Thanks, guys. Hope you had a great day today. Our good friends from Anderson Interior Contracting had a chance to do kind of a STEM visit with one of our teams with the good folks here from the Kids on Track program. We'll get them back up for their shot here as well. Kids on Track dropping off all their backpacks, getting up here. They learned a lot about racing here this weekend, that's for sure, and they've had a lot of fun. The robotics team is up here with us. Love it. These guys could be engineers one day in this program. Thank you so much. Champagne will be next, folks. The traditional celebration of motorsports success. Bringing the sparkling cider, if you will, up for the young drivers here today. Lockie Hughes with a fantastic victory here to start off the season. Sure, he's absolutely thrilled to get this win in the books. All right, guys, let her rip. Let that champagne fly. A celebration for the drivers here in USF2000, the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Lockie Hughes with the win. Both of these drivers, Ivagoras Papasabas and Nikita Johnson, will be back tomorrow to fight it out for the race wins, along with 18 other drivers who want to displace these guys from the podium. They want to have some fun themselves. We're done here today, folks. Thank you so much for being part of it. We're back first thing tomorrow morning. More USF Pro Championships competition here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg.